wonderful and Devere, and welcome. And it is so great to have you again here with you and I. And you are going to be sharing a lot of tips on crafting your story. So, how have you been today, Anne? And are you excited about the topic?
I am very excited about the topic. As you know, I'm all about the story. Yes, all about the why. So thrilled to be here with you again, Juanita. Yes, so let's get to it, as they say, right?
Yeah, right. All right. So, Anne, where, if at all, let's talk about crafting your story, and where do we start with that?
Well, we actually start with the story. So let's just go on full on here. Um, every time we are thinking about the story, we need to think about the beginning of the story, right? We want to add some drama to it. Well, for one thing, we want to think about the why. Why are we sharing this story? Who is it about? What is it about? What's so important? We need to take a look at all those things first. So, the very first thing we want to take a look at are the characters in the story. Now, if this sounds like a movie, well, a movie is telling a story, right? And we're always telling stories. So the more dramatic we are, the more descriptive we are, the more details we put in, the easier it is for people to actually join our journey of the story. And so the characters, well, you're the main character most of the time. You're the hero most of the time, at least when we're sharing information and we want to add value by sharing our tips, and maybe we're conducting interviews. So the story starts with the hero, which is usually you. Well, there are other supporting characters, right? And who may those be? Well, in some cases, they're the ones who have helped create the problem that we're solving, and some of them are the ones who helped us solve the problem. So it could be something broke, or maybe there was a health issue, so there was a problem, and then maybe the doctor suggested whatever it was, so the doctor is solves the problem, right? And so in our case, we're sharing the story, our tips and resources, our expertise. But who did we help? What happened? We want to bring all that in there. Maybe there are two or three. We don't want to complicate it too much, right? So we start with just describing who was in the story. Well, the other thing that we do want to take a look at is who um, the setting. Well, who else is who's there, but also the setting. Where were we? What were we doing? What kind of day it was? Was it a cold, rainy day? Was it windy? Or maybe it was more like a summer shower where you could, the sprinkling was it just getting on the beautiful leaves and it smelled so good, like maybe fresh cut grass or something. So you want to bring in the smells, you want to bring in the descriptions, the sounds that were there. So the more you describe, the more we know where you are, what were you thinking, what were you seeing, what were you smelling, what were you feeling, And so that's before you even tell the story. So, who was involved and what was the setting? And for example, when I share my story about the camel driver in Egypt who taught me about marketing, I'll say, there I was sitting on a camel next to the Great Pyramid. Now, as I describe that, people can see me sitting on a camel because they're looking at me. They know what I look like. They know what a camel is, and they know what the Great Pyramid looks like. So we want to connect the known to the unknown as much as possible. So you have an observation about that, Juanita? What do you think?
I think it's absolutely great, and I'd love to hear. So, like, I'm so intrigued. What's the next step? What is the next thing that we need to do? And then I'd love to kind of work out. So, how do we put that together at the end of it? So we've got the characters at the moment. We've got the
Mhm.
environment at the moment.
Mhm.
Um, what's next, Anne?
Well, next we're going right into the story. What happened, right? What happened? The story, it starts with, okay, what was the problem? Why did we, come up with a product or a service in the first place? What was the problem? And so we describe that and, actually talk about the problem. And then we're actually going to bring a story in, but let's go to the next step. And then the solution. How did we find the solution? Where were we looking? What happened? And what were we thinking when we found a solution? What happened? Where did we find it? We searched high and low. We spoke to so many people. We read so many books. Whatever happened, that journey, this is where we actually connect with people on a deep emotional level as we share what were we thinking, what were we feeling, where were we looking. So all of that makes a difference. And then the result. The result is very, very important. The result is what happened because we found that solution. Something amazing happened. The problem was solved. We got relief from that pain. We got the answer we were looking for to growing our business. We got the information we're looking for to save our relationship. Whatever it was, we want to talk about the result. What happened, and then how did that impact other people's lives, right? Now we're sharing that information. So, for example, I had to find the solution to telling stories in a more impactful way. Where did I look for it? How did I find it? And now I'm sharing it with other people. So now Juanita and I are we can dive in there as to how did we find the solution to telling great stories. So what do you think, Juanita? Should we?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it. And the floor is yours.
The floor is mine. Okay, well, so here's for me when I started looking into solution for telling great stories. Obviously, as business owners, we want to be able to share with people what to do. Well, in my case, I was more motivated because when we started training experts to be interviewed on network TV and mostly like breaking news shows and talk shows, they have a very limited amount of time. On
Yeah.
breaking news stories, you have maybe 1 to 3 minutes. So you have 3 minutes maximum. And talk shows, you have 3 to 6 minutes. So I had to find a way to tell a story in 3 minutes. Now,
Wow.
oh, yeah, what is it? It's easy to tell a story in 30 minutes, but in 3 minutes?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you're going on national TV, they don't give you any guidelines if you've never been on, right?
No, they well, some of them do, some of them don't. It depends on what station and what show it is. But let's just assume
Okay.
that you're on your own. Nobody's going to sit there and coach you on how to craft your story. They might say, here are the questions we may be asking, but you're on your own. So you need to know how to tell the story. And so in my case, to learn how to tell a good story, where would I look? TEDx style stories, TED Talks. We love TED Talks. So I said, well, how do they do it? How do they put the story together? And all TED Talks, they take us on a journey. That the other thing that was an important part of a TED Talk is an important part of a TED Talk is they bring you to the solution, but they also ask a lot of questions. Have you noticed that? They
Hmm.
ask a lot of questions. And so we had to take a look at, well, how can we craft a TEDx style story in 3 minutes? So that's where I started searching the information. How do we put all that together? Well, I just shared with you where I had to look, right? I know what was the problem? Why did I want to even think about TEDx style stories? And so, yeah, that's the beginning of the story. Well, obviously, I watched a lot of TED Talks. I started dissecting and actually found a way for us to craft it my own way. Of course, I'm a marketer, so I knew how to put together stories. But when I actually found the formula that worked for us, and later on, when I was actually working with one of the top TED Talk trainers, when I shared with her the way I put the story together, she said, "And that's a TED Talk, and you're doing it in 3 minutes." So I was excited because I did find the solution and I was edified by one of the top TED Talk trainers. But here's the story, the results. Well, obviously, we've trained many people to share their stories, especially in 3 minutes. But now that we have a formula, this particular formula, a lot of people are getting great results, whether on social media, whether on one-on-one conversations. And so this basically is a story. The part that the challenge, Juanita, most people have when crafting their story, they don't do the preset. They don't describe the
Um,
characters. They don't bring in the environment. They just start telling the story.
right, right. So, and if that is the case, like if and let's say somebody was going to, because from what I'm hearing you say is you can take the formula and put it onto anything. So you could create a video with that formula and tell your story. And that video could be something that is professional for your website. You could take a just a simple video where you were wanting to share something that happened and tell a story through that. You could just do a post and tell a story. So and that's I'm hearing that correctly, Anne. So you could use the
Yes, you
formula,
are.
like it doesn't matter where it is, you could use that formula to tell a story. So if you were doing a video or a post or anything like that, and you said you preset the characters, how do you do that without sounding really weird? And I say really weird because you know and genuinely, how do you do that? Because the way that I see it, is you would be going, so this happened, and you wouldn't, I would assume you wouldn't go straight into, so let me preset the story for you, or let me set the scene for you, or would you?
Well, you could do that. You could do that, but the prep work actually happens ahead of time. Like I wouldn't sit there and say, "Well, let me tell you about the characters," or let me tell you where I was. We just do it. And just like I was starting to tell you about, was I shared the example, there I was sitting on a camel next to the Great Pyramid. So
Right.
I open with the dramatic statement that tells them exactly where it is. Then I can actually continue. The camel driver that taught me the lesson was standing right there. Or it could be, it was a honey, it was a sunny day. It was 103 Fahrenheit. It was very hot and the sand was glistening. So I could dive in there or I could just stop. There I was on a camel next to the pyramid. So if we are doing the prep work in advance, the characters that were there, we can choose who to include and not to include. In this case, since the camel driver is an intricate part of my story, which we haven't told yet, is I would have to include him. But it wasn't just me and him by the pyramids. There were a lot of other people. There were tourists. There were a lot of other camel drivers, and there were vendors. There were all these things. So if I know ahead of time uh, the important components of a story, then when the time comes, I'm able to pick and choose what to include based on the situation. Is this making sense?
Yes, yes, definitely. And I absolutely love it. So, taking a little step back,
Mhm.
because one of the things that we talk about often is before you even start your story, have your hook. And we definitely going to cover hooks and things like that, definitely. So, but taking the step back, and would you say do your hook first and then you start getting into the story? Because I know this whole thing about the camel driver was because you've shared the story before about how he taught you, a lesson in marketing, right? So would you start the hook first and then get into and there I was sitting on the camel?
Well, it all depends. If we are creating videos, let's say for YouTube, right? We only have 3 seconds. So I would not start with I was sitting on a camel. I would start, you know, You want to know what a camel driver in Egypt taught me about marketing in 30 minutes that the experts could not tell me in 1 year? Something like that. Depending on the time. And if you have 3 seconds, hey, camel driver in Egypt taught me marketing in 30 minutes or in 3 steps or in, secret code, secret key, secret formula that a camel driver taught me about marketing. So we can start in different ways depending on how we want to continue with the story. So the hook is the most important part in opening statement. Here's the thing: don't craft your hook first, craft your story. But because within the story you're going to be able to find many different hooks depending on who you are presenting to. Your hook can change. The hook also has, it can be a question, it could be a statement, it can be a testimonial. So there's all kinds of ways you can craft your hook. And so
Right.
it's a very important part, as you know.
Absolutely. And I think that's sometimes where people kind of go a little bit, off the rail, and they get so involved in trying to get the hook right before the story that they get stuck on the hook and not the story. So that was an absolute piece of a gem that you shared there. Craft your story first, go through everything, all the steps that Anne has covered today, your characters, your environment, the setting the scene, the problem, the your solution, and definitely the results, and that's your story. And then from there, as you said, you'll find the hook. You'll find those hooks, that or a hook that you can start your story with before you actually get out there and tell it. Now, we haven't covered the results yet. So we've gone, there's the problem, there's the solution. Why is it important to have a results piece? I mean, could you not just leave it with there's the problem, there's the solution, Anne?
No, because people are not just looking for the solution, they're looking for results.
So
So
what's the difference? Like what's the difference between a solution and a result?
okay, so if we were to take, well, give me an example of a problem, and then you see how quickly things can fall into place.
Okay, I actually met somebody this week that does not want to do live videos. So that's the problem. She doesn't mind doing video, hates live video because she feels that she's too exposed. People are going to see her. She's going to make mistakes, and um, it's going to ruin her reputation if she makes a mistake.
Okay, so that one actually, as you can imagine, comes up quite often as I train people to be on camera, right?
Yes,
Now,
and I know you would love this one, but truly, I thought it was quite interesting. So yeah, I'd love to hear, what's the solution, what's the result.
yeah. By the way, everybody, these questions are not in advance discussed, right? Because we love to be live and in person. She just said, I want to talk about the story. I said, okay. And so all these questions that are coming up is a perfect example of why you should go live. And here's what happens when we are live. When we are in a conversation with somebody, we're not scripted. They ask a question, we respond. And when we know our stuff, if you will, when we are an expert, we're passionate about what we're sharing, we do know what we're doing,
Yeah,
then we're energized. We're not thinking, oh, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. We're not in our head, we're in our heart. And so this is a really, really important part of it, right? First, you're not in your head, you get into your heart because you're delivering content. So that's the key. You already are the expert. Get out of your head. Don't think about it. How you look, how you sound, because you know your stuff and you're there to make a difference for the audience. Now, having said that, the bonus when you get with the live is that you're much more authentic. And If we say something silly or say, "Oh, I can't believe I just said that," and we just laugh at ourselves, the audience connects with us on a much deeper emotional level. They see the different sides of us. Yes, they see our expertise, but they also see we just like them. It makes them feel like they're just hanging out with us, right? Now, it really does. But now, here's the other part too. Yes, pre-recording is good, but try it both ways. If you're pre-recording, without an audience, without going live, you know that you can stop at any time. You're much more into your head, and you will stop. It will take you 10 takes to do what we just did with the press of the button. We're ready to go live, and you will find once you go live uh, a few times, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, we're live. You'll see what happens. You will shift internally and start
Yeah.
getting very comfortable.
Now, if you are joining us or have joined us, please say hello in the chat. Let us know that you're here so that we can see you. And if you've got any questions for the amazing Anne, please ask the question. She's here to sit and help us today. And you're 100% right. I mean, none of this is pre-planned. You and I do know each other really well, and we know our topics really well. And you've been doing this for such a long time. And I think that people need to know that Anne has actually interviewed so many experts. She has really put herself out there and interviewed, you know, hundreds and hundreds of experts, and some of them very, very well known. And they've had to be able to tell their story. You've also helped people get onto television. That's where one of the things that you started out doing, correct?
Well, I actually started producing for others,
Yeah.
and this is very common. We would train experts, and we would take them actually to Channel 6, the TV station in San Diego, on Sundays, and we would interview them on the news desk. And by the way, the backdrop I have is exactly that: access to experts. That's where we were, and so I have a virtual backdrop, so you can look professional now. But here's the part where I was not willing to get on camera to start with. When I was asked, to do interview, I said, no, 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 I'm better off, behind the scenes. I want to put others on camera. I love producing. That was
Oh,
just an excuse. That was just an excuse. That was my what I call the reluctant celebrity syndrome, which I actually, coined the phrase like gosh, maybe 20 years ago, because I noticed that a lot of us we understand the power of video. We want to be
absolutely.
there. We want to, yes, we get exposure. And there's something about being on camera. There is people get to see us. We are
Yeah.
vulnerable, yes, but yeah, a lot of power comes with it as well. Yeah.
And if you want to know about um, the reluctant celebrity syndrome that Anne has coined, we did that last week on a live. So if you're wondering what is this reluctant celebrity syndrome, go and have a look and search for Anne or I or for the events, and go and see where we talk about the reluctant celebrity syndrome, because I think we all have it. And I know we don't always think of ourselves as celebrities. However, when you're going on live, and especially if you're starting to do TEDx talks, or you're starting to get out onto television or on people's live shows, you could have reluctant celebrity syndrome. So go and have a watch on that. So, and coming back, the question was, so what's the difference between solutions and results? And I gave you the wonderful that wonderful lady that is struggling with the live. We covered why it's important to be on the live,
Mhm.
and everything else. But if you dissected that a little bit, what is the solution for her, and then what is the so let's pretend we we get her to do lives,
Mhm.
um, and she comes on and she does a live and it's successful and everything else. Where would the solution be? Where would the result be?
Well, the solution is you have the tools, you have resources, and she's decided she wants to get out there, connect with her people. The solution is you do a live, and you show up on camera, you get your videos out there. That's the solution to connecting with many across the globe, right? Solution to a problem. She wants to connect. The result between live and pre-recorded, let's say, with her, the result would be she was much more authentic. Maybe she was nervous the first time, and there are solutions to how you can get over your nervousness. I'm not going to do that right now. However, when you are live and she could see people are responding, people are asking questions, and she's answering them in real time, there's this interaction where you cannot do if it's not live. You know, again, there are many different ways you can go in and respond to people, but when you are interacting with people, live questions from the audience, and even just the way what's happening right now, Juanita is asking me a question, I'm responding live right there. And so going live with an audience, there's a whole different energy. And once you do that a couple of times, you see the results, you see how you feel, you can tell you're much more authentic, and you're going to be more excited to get on, and people are going to connect with you on a deeper level. Those are the results that you get between live and pre-recorded. You're live, you're much more animated. Pre-recorded, you can't always gauge how people are seeing it because you don't know when they're watching it. So does that make sense, Juanita, between the solution and a result?
Absolutely, absolutely. And with the live, even if people are not watching now, they certainly will get onto the replay. So if you do watch this as a replay, please hashtag replay in the comments so that we know you're watching the replay, and we'll definitely answer any questions that you have in the replay. But it would be lovely to have your questions about crafting stories. Anne is an absolute expert. I think we've come to the end of it, and this has been just amazing. I'm going to pop up the website for everyone if they are wanting to get in touch with you, and because we are doing training sessions, we're doing these lives every single week. We are covering different topics every week. So we're doing TEDx style stories, crafting your story, which we've done today. You know, the celebrity, um, the
Reluctant
celebrity,
celebrity.
reluctant celebrities. See, and there we go. There's like a little, oh, what was that again? And it's fine.
And
We have
notice
a
the
bit of
giggles.
giggle.
Notice the giggles, though. We're just like,
Yeah,
whoops, okay. And the world
it
doesn't end,
happens,
right?
right? Yeah, it happens, and people do make mistakes and things like that. And I know that you really help them through all of this, crafting these stories and getting them out there. So for everyone, the website is on the screen at the moment. Please go and visit that website. Go and have a look. And Anne is also working with other experts, and part of, and I know you can explain this a lot better, but let me go for it. Part of Anne's journey and the access to experts is teaching people and then bringing you on as an expert as well. So having you come on and tell your story and get yourself out there. So I'm really excited to see you build this whole I almost want to say army of brand ambassadors, and that can go out and be brand ambassadors firstly for themselves and for their own companies, and then of course for other people as well. So that is going to be truly exciting.
Yes, absolutely. Well, here's the exciting news, everybody. Um, Juanita is absolutely brilliant in what she does, as you know, if you're on her feed right here. So she is the CEO of the Social Media Conference, Australia and New Zealand. So that's why the two of us got together. So here's a why story. I wanted to be much more impactful on LinkedIn. I wanted to support my people on LinkedIn because LinkedIn now has the live streaming video. And of course, there's the social audio. So who do I go to? I find an expert who I'm aligned with, who also wants to contribute and make a difference in people's lives. We're like-minded in the support, and also she's brilliant in what she does. So I am actually following Juanita's instructions on how do I promote myself on LinkedIn. It's not because I don't know how to promote. It's not because Juanita doesn't know how to create videos. Obviously, we both of us do. But what we're doing is we're looking to see the impact when people have us two working together in our expertise. What does that look like? Because as I'm learning from Juanita how to use her brilliant system on marketing on LinkedIn, because she knows a lot more than I do in that. That's her expertise, right? And on social media in general. But right now we're focused on LinkedIn. And there are some tips and things I have about showing up on camera. So we are combining our expertise to support you, and that's what this is about. So, whenever you find collaborative partners you want to collaborate with, and we're looking to interview you on our shows, on social media as well. So there's a lot more you're going to be learning. But Juanita and I actually we have free training that we have created, so you can see the link below. But go to where Juanita has put together access to experts.com and look for master classes, and you'll see our masterclass there, or free masterclass. You'll find it.
Wonderful. Yes, and that was a bit of fun, that masterclass that we did together. And I do
Yes.
want to say to everyone, one of the things that we're doing at the moment as well is testing, because we're running the live at the moment of a company page, so of the Online Business Academy company page, and we're going to test to see whether or not um, the because company page lives, by the way, is a new it's a fairly new feature on LinkedIn. So we want to test and see whether it works better for the pages or for individual accounts. And so we're doing a test even on that as we speak as well, which is going to be a lot of fun. But we will share this live out onto our own feed so that you can come and watch the replay. If you watch the replay, as I said, hashtag replay, tell us that you're watching the replay, ask the questions, and give a round of applause to Anne. She's been absolutely amazing sharing her wonderful formula for stories, and I know that I'm certainly going to inject some of that into what I do as well. And so thank you so much. And
My pleasure. And then,
we
wait, next week I get to interview Juanita. So we're actually flipping it. We're flipping it. One week I get to interview Juanita. Next week she gets to interview me. So you better come back.
we're going to have a bit of fun next week. I know that you're going to put me through all these questions. And the beauty is, as Anne said, none of this is scripted. We haven't scripted anything because Anne is passionate, knows her story. As an interviewer, I know Anne. We can have these conversations and lead and know where to go. So even knowing to be the interviewer is a craft as well. And you'll learn all about that too. So, Anne, thank you so much. It was wonderful having you here again today. And I look forward to next week, same time. And if you go into the Online Business Academy events or Access to Experts events, you'll see all the events that are coming up. So go and join there, and get prepared for next week. Thank you, Anne.
Fabulous. Thank you, Juanita. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. And all of you, looking to see you again next week. Thank you.
Thank you. See ya. Bye.